Just a few things that are coming up for students. I noticed there is a crawfish boil from the Graduate Student Association on April 5th, which is a Friday. And that's supposed to be, I've been there, so it's great fun. So if you have time, join the other graduate students and go there. There is a interesting talk for women in science and engineering on Wednesday, April 3rd. This is a new series that they're putting on, but it's not here on campus, it's off campus. So if somebody's interested, let me know. I have the flyer here. We have a family dinner planned for the Professional Science Master's Student Club on April the 3rd, next week. They haven't set the time yet, but I think John and Kristen would like to get some feedback where you guys would like to go and eat. So if you have some good places that are dear to your heart, send them an email and help them out so you can find a spot. Next week we have Cyberonics coming. Brian Olin will be speaking, so this will be interesting, for our bio students, probably also for our nano students, and maybe even the environmental group. So make sure to come. It's going to be back in the physics building at our regular location. There is a bio used in Chile cook-off, probably also something for our bio students, on April 5th. Not here on campus. Off campus, if you're interested to attend it, it's going to be a good way to meet a lot of companies in the biosciences. They have 400 participants, which could be also a good opportunity to maybe find an internship. There is another career fair coming up with the MBA and other graduate students on April 17th in McNair Hall in the Jones School of Business. So that's something, if you don't have an internship yet, make sure to attend that from 10 to noon, April 17th in the Jones School. Shell Oil is coming April 1st for another info session, so make sure to go if you don't have an internship. Shell Oil, okay. Right. And C&J Energy are here today in the half house at 6. So if you're interested in that company, go and check them out. Texas Job Fair next week, April 2nd at Texas Southern University. Again, if you don't have an internship yet, go there. Make the time, find somebody to carpool. It's not that far from here, it's from 10 to 3, okay? So that's all the news I have. What else has any other announcements? Not all students are here yet, but I'm sure they'll be triggering in. So I'm going to hand it to Jimbo.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jimbo Chen. Today I'm going to talk about the internship project that I've done in a company named the Nano 3D Bioscience. The project name is the High Throughput 3-Dimensional Cell Culture and Drug Screening System. So to begin with, a few words about the company. The Nano 3D Bioscience is a spin-off company from Rice University and the University of MD Anderson. And the mission of the company is to use 3-dimensional cell culture technique to apply in the field of toxicology screening and drug discovery. There are four co-founders of the company. Dr. Clark Souza is the Chief Science Officer, who is also my supervisor of the internship project, and Mr. David Lee is the CEO of the company. There are also two professors from Rice University as the co-founders. Dr. Killian is the professor in physics department, while the Dr. Raphael is the professor in bioengineering. So let's begin by asking this simple question: why do we need 3D cell culture? Traditionally, people use 2D cell culture methods for decades. And the normal way people do that is using flasks or the round petri dish plate to culture cells in a 2-dimensional platform. And if you look at the details through a microscope, it will show like this. This is a fiberglass cell that grows in a 2-dimensional way. You can see the cells are just evenly distributed along the 2-dimensional surface. However, there are some problems that associated with the 2D method. The biggest problem is that nothing in real world is 2D. If you look at our human body, we have tissues, organs, and also even cancer cells and tumors. They all grow in a 3D basis. So the 2D cell culture method will misrepresent the cells in vivo. And usually it will take quite a long time for the cells to grow. Right now, the big pharmaceutical companies takes almost about 10 years to discover a particular drug. And most of the time was spent on the cell culturing and drug screening stages, which slow down the whole process and increase the cost. So we can see that shift from 2D cell culture to 3D cell culture can really shorten the time distance of the drug discovery and even decrease the cost of the pharmaceutical companies. There are also some limitations for 2D methods, such as it is hard to co-culture the cells of different types. Here is a good example. I'm not sure if you can look clearly of the picture, but I point out this is a good example between 3D cell culture and 2D cell culture. The left column here is the in vivo situation of human tumor xenograft immunofluorescence picture. You can see the complex protein structure and the cell nuclear image by shining fluorescence light on it. And using the technology that's been developed by Nano3D Bioscience, which is a three-dimensional levitated culture, we can see the exactly same cell structure and even the protein structure in vitro situation. While at the same time, if we use the two-dimensional way, lots of the information and the complexity are missing. And just like, as I said, it misrepresents the situation in vivo. So this is how it works. Basically, we just need to treat the cells with the magnetic nanoparticles. And the nanoparticles will attach to those cells. And cells will sit on top of the culture well or container without doing anything. And then we just need to put a magnet on top of the petri dish or culturing well. And the cells that has nanoparticles attached will be lefted due to the magnetic force. So after a very short time, normally less than 24 hours or overnight, a 3D multicellular structure will be formed in a three-dimensional way. The structure is sitting at the edge of the media due to the surface tension force. So in real life, it will look like this. Maybe hard to see that there is a sphere structure, levitated 3D cell structure that float at the top of the petri dish, and the magnet is sitting right here, which induce the force to levitate the cells and let it grow in a three-dimensional way. A key element in the technology is the nanoparticles, and we call it the nanoshuttle. It is consist of three components. The first one is polymer polylysin. This material is mostly used to coat the traditional flasks and the petri dish, which provide a good attachment between the cells and the plastics. And here we use the same property that can provide the same attachment between the cells and the nanoparticles that we use. And the iron oxide nanoparticles gives us the magnetism that reacts to the magnetic force. And the gold nanoparticles we use here is more like a stabilizer because it has a unique electron property. It will attract the polymer polylysin and the iron oxide nanoparticles around it. And also the gold nanoparticles has some unique optical properties that give us the possibility to visualize those nanoparticles through some microscopic approaches. And this is a simple scheme, how the nanoshadow looks like. And the cartoon is not drawn to scale. So the gold nanoparticles are sitting, it's normally 50 nanometer in diameter, and the polylysin and magnetic iron oxide nanoparticles will form around it. The assembly process is pretty simple. You can just put those three elements together and they will automatically form the nanoshuttle. And here is what it looks like in lab. You can see that it shows the dark red color. That's because the gold nanoparticles will absorb the particular light wavelengths. So as I mentioned before, we can visualize these nanoparticles. Here is an example that we use transmission electron microscope picture. The black dots are the gold nanoparticles that absorb the light. And if you look at the details, you will see the white shred structure which represent the polymer polylysine. And also we can determine the gold nanoparticle size by using the UV visible light spectroscopy to determine whether the gold nanoparticles is in the right size and give us the estimated distribution of the nanoparticles. The advantage of using this technology is it can promote the cell-to-cell interaction. This is the microscopic picture that has been taken after 60 minutes that the cells be treated with nanoparticles and levitated under the magnetic force. You can see most of them are still spread in the space. And the detail shows that the cells-to-cell interaction has already been formed. And there will be extracellular matrix pull all the cells together. And the situation will be more obvious after 4 hours levitation. You can see all the conjugate of the cells in the media, and they form a three-dimensional way. The three-dimensional levitated cell culture also promote the speed, the increase of the cells number. This is an example that the number of cells increase in exponentially rate on time basis, while at the same time the two-dimensional cell culture only increases in a linear trend. This is also a proof that it can dramatically shorten the time for cell culture, because people usually want to culture cells to a particular number. Here are 2 sets of pictures showing the details of the three-dimensional levitated cells. The topper ones are the scanning electron microscopic picture of the levitated cells after 24 hours and the same cells after 8 days. You can clearly see the volume and the size increase during this time. And if we inspect the details at the edge of the levitated cells, we can see that in 24 hours there will be still some nanoparticles grown with the cells. However, after 8 days, most of the nanoshadows have been left behind, and that means the nanoshadows plays a minor factor in the 3D cells formation process. Also, by using this technology, we can do some cool experiment. One of them is to do 3D cell co-culture and invasion experiment. These are 2 different cells type. One is the brain tumor cells, and the other is neural cell. They've been treated with the nanoshadow, and they show different light under fluorescence microscope picture. All we need to do is guide them using magnetic force and let them approach to each other. And then we can see the change, the invasion or the migration between those 2 cells after time. And here is the picture showing the process that how the 2 type of cells that migrate to each other. But our interest is mostly focused on the high throughput wound healing assay, because that's the method the big pharmaceutical companies to do drug testing and medicine discovery. There are actually conventional ways to do that. The 2D scratch wound healing assay is based on the formal process that you culture cells in a 2D basis, and you just cut a gap in the middle of the cell and you add drugs to it. You just measure how fast the cut or the wound close to each other. but it has problems. As I mentioned before, it is based on monolayer, and the cells has a tendency to react to the plastics they've been grown on. And also it's difficult in mass application. People can overcome with this limitation by doing experiments on live animals. This is a 3D in vivo wound healing experiment would look like. Basically, people using mice or rabbit and generate wounds on their bodies and treat it with different drugs and see how fast the wound was closed. But this process has the problem of being too expensive, and this sometimes will generate ethical concerns. Compared to those, our approach is simpler. You don't even have to intervene with the process. So this is how we do it. To begin with, we just follow the 3D cell culture protocol by putting magnets on the cells that is being treated with the nanoshuttle and let it levitate and form cell-to-cell interaction and the extracellular matrix. And also the cell's number will grow, will increase to a particular number that we want. And then we break the structure with the pipette, and we put a ring-shaped magnet on the bottom of the culture container or the wells. And the cells will be forced to pattern a donut-shaped structure due to the magnetic force. And with the magnets on, we can add drugs or antibodies to the cells and just remove the magnet. Then all we need to do is observe how the structure changes. Formally, before I joined the company, people have already proved that this approach works, but we only did in a low number well plate, such as the single well plate or the 6 well plate. And we really want to elevate that efficiency by create the 96 well plate. That allows us to do mass number of experiments. So this is the magnet matrix that has been developed. You can see the perfectly aligned magnet sitting on the bottom of the plate, the station. And all we need to do is put a 96 well cell culture plate on top of it and add all the media cells and drugs to it and let it sit there to pattern for a particular time, so they will shape to form the ring structure. And then we remove the magnetic matrix and using a microscope to observe the structure change on time basis. Here I'm going to show you a pretty cool video that indicates the change of the cell structure. But I have to mention that the cell we use is the HAC293. It is a type of kidney cells. And there are 2 different drugs that we use to do the experiment. The left one is ibuprofen. It is painkiller. People can buy it at market. And the right one is doxorubicin. It is anti-cancer cells. And we anticipated that the doxorubicin will not react to the kidney cells very much. And here is how the ring structure closes over time. And you can see that it met our expectation. For ibuprofen, we can see a different, a gradual change of the ring structure diameter based on different drug concentration. When there is no drug, the ring structure just closed And for doxorubicin, the lower concentration drug met our expectation, but I think for the very high drug concentration, it still shows some toxicity to the cells, and it kills the cells, and the cells just sitting there doing nothing.
So just a question. So the highest concentration of the doxo that you use, is still 6 times smaller than the lowest non-zero concentration of ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Make sure I understood that right.
And if we plot out the cell structure change during after times, we can clearly see the sensitivity of the cells that react to the drugs. Here we can see an obvious separation of how these structures close on daily basis. And while the doxorubicin shows quite a little sensitivity at the lower concentration that reacts to the kidney cells.
It should be micromolar.
Yeah,
All micromolar.
they're all micromolar?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's on the previous slide, some of them were millimolar.
It's all micromolar.
Those are all supposed to be micros.
Oh, okay. So maybe a mistake. Sorry for that.
So is this healing? I mean, it looks like the whole thing is just simply contracting.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
You
the ones on the
can't-
outside, why don't the ones on the outer diameter stay the same?
Because the cells are they're just dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're killed by the drugs. It won't be
You
too
filled the
precise.
hole in. Somebody must have grown in, right?
It's not too precise to use the wound and the healing word because it should be explained in a different way. It's one way to represent the viability of the cells. It's not exactly the out diameter and the inner diameter are decreased at the same time.
Right.
So
So what is good? Do I want my cells, do I want that whole thing to shrink?
if the cells shrinks, it means it shows viability of the cells.
Okay.
And if it stay there and doing nothing, that means the cells being killed by the drugs.
If the cells are growing, why don't they grow out as well as in? I mean, why doesn't they?
The structure breaks and it just float outside. There is some competition between the drug toxicity and the cell migration. So if the drug showing completely toxicity and if there's no viability for the cells, it will grow a little bigger because the structure is just break for the 3D formed cell structure.
I'm still trying to understand the take-home message here. So,
Okay.
all right, clearly, these graphs are different, the behaviors are different.
Yeah.
It looks like, in the case of the Doxo, for example, that the diameter for all of the doses, except maybe the highest dose, the diameter of this whole thing shrinks with time.
Yeah.
For the case of the ibuprofen,
Yep.
it looks like the diameter shrinks with time for the low doses and grows or stays flat with time for the high doses.
Yeah.
And so is the message I'm supposed to take away from this that high doses of ibuprofen kill the cells, but all the doses of the Doxo do not? Or have I got it
I
backwards?
wouldn't say do not. They're still showing a little bit of toxicity. It's just we do this experiment to see the competition between the drug toxicity and how the cell migrates. Here you can see that there's a diameter difference even when we difference that under different drug concentration, which means that here it shrinks,
Yeah.
but it still have drug toxicity that prevent those shrink process.
Okay.
And for the control, there's no drug, so it will shrink to the minimum size it could be. And as long as there are drugs, they are still showing toxicity that kill a portion of the cells and prevent.
The Doxo is less toxic than the ibuprofen.
You
Is that
cannot say that because we're using different.
at a given concentration?
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, you're talking about migration, not growth, so my understanding. What I'd originally thought was you were looking at wound healing as a process of growth. Sort of new cells formed and grew in to fill in the void, which would have said that the outer ones would
That
grow
is
as well.
that is the way to show cells viability. But here's another, because we have to jump off to that picture. As a 2D, people use the cells proliferation to see the drug effect.
You talk about cell migration, so the picture was that you had essentially a constant number of cells, but they were viable and sort of got moved into
Yeah,
the
yeah, they
cell.
have showing the intimacy of each cells,
So
and
what
they were.
you're showing is not the growth of new cells.
No, it's
you're
not the
showing
growth.
cells moving around to fill in the void.
Yeah.
Is that the take-home message?
Yes, that's true.
So the integrated blackness on all these pictures should be fairly constant. You've not actually grown a much larger total agglomeration
no,
of cells.
yeah.
Because if they're viable, they can move around somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Fill
yeah.
in the middle.
Yeah,
But at the expense of those at the outside, which is somehow sort of moved into the middle. Is that?
yeah,
is
that's
that-
true.
Because I
That's
didn't
correct.
get that from what you had said. I was very puzzled by
Okay.
growth.
Yeah. No, it's completely different from the 2D method because we have to still there are quite a lot of literature to explain why the cells act like this in a 3D dimensional ways because there are more cells-to-cell interaction between the 3D structure and they show the intimacy between each other and put themselves together.
But you still have, these things are still sort of being held against the bottom surface, right? So in a sense, they're still on a two-dimensional surface because the magnet is positioned down on the bottom. So how
No,
is it different?
actually not, because we have done the levitation process, so the cells-to-cell interaction has already been formed. For the 2D,
They formed the donut.
No, we formed the donut, there's no magnet. We remove the magnet away. We pattern and just leave the cells alone. And it's a non-interacting
Are they
surface.
sitting on the bottom?
They just sit on the bottom in 3D. It's a donut. It's really like a donut. We may change the name. It's like
okay.
a donut of cells.
Okay, so it's not a washer,
Yeah.
it's a donut.
Yeah, and you're correct. In the wound healing process, it's a mixture of proliferation and migration, depending on the type of wound and the size of the wound. So basically, you're right on. We're measuring migration, but we can infer to the viability of the cells from the migration process. So, and the reason is there's two scales here. I just want to clarify, so, because Jungle did a huge job for us on the next part, which is a lot of the data analysis, and that's it. So I just wanted so everybody understands that we're looking at, it's a different scale. The migration process, it's on the spatial scale, is much more, the resolution and is much higher than the cells actually proliferating and changing the size of the structure. So that's why we can detect the migration much faster than the growth. So we just care really about the migration.
so let's continue. Yes, ask any question if you have any concerns. At the very beginning, we used the microscope to take a picture and see how the structure changed. The good part of that is it will show very good precision and you can see the details about the cells. But there are also some drawbacks of using a microscope to take pictures, such as it is very time consuming. It will usually take 1 or 2 hours to take pictures of a particular 96 square plate. And if we give that job to a third-party company, it will take $200 per hour for them to take those pictures. And also the microscope is too big for us to put into the incubator because we want to see the real-time change for the cell structure. There are companies doing those equipment, manufacture those equipment that you can put into incubator and take movies or pictures. But that will easily cost you $100,000. So what we saw to find an alternative to do the same stuff. And we're thinking about using mobile devices. And the good part about mobile devices is that it is a highly integrated hardware. You have all the elements you want, the cameras, the wireless communication. Also, it provides the operation system that you can program your own application that realize the different functions that you need. So based on that, we just developed the prototype for we call it BioStation. Here we can see that there will be 2 rails sitting on top of the station, and we just need to slide the plate into position and put also there's a fixed cave for people to use iPod or iPhone or other mobile devices, and we're taking pictures by using the front camera facing at the bottom of the plate. And the biggest good part about this is that the most expensive thing is the iPod, which is easily cost $200 or $300 compared to the other market products. It's really cheap, and you can take pictures or take movies as you want. So this one showing the iPod pictures and movies we've been taken, and you can see the same structure close under that situation. And here is the still. This is the smooth muscle cells actually with 3 different drugs, and the drugs have been from highest concentration to the lowest concentration from top to bottom.
What time period is that?
Yeah,
it's not real time, right? That's sped up.
Yeah, it's not real time, but combined of different pictures. But we can do movies on that.
It's overnight.
And also there are some accessories that we developed particularly for the mobile device, such as iPhone and iPod, that we can use for different applications. In this situation, we can use the microscope to take the details about each whale. And I'll show you a movie about that to see how this is details how the structure is closed. And we also compare the iPod pictures being taken with the microscopic pictures. And we get the identical result by measuring the outer diameter of the cell structure. And sometimes it gives us even better result because the iPod pictures will capture the whole image of each whale, while at the microscopic picture for particular magnification, the cell structure will be saturated, and we cannot get the detailed information about the whole structure and even the situation on the edge of the ring.
Is that why there's a sort of difference in the outer diameter, 3.5?
Yeah, and you can see that I just measured it was being saturated by the size of the microscopic and showing no error. But also, even we use iPod to take pictures that accelerate the process of the image acquisition part, but we still need manpower to measure the cell size and diameter, for example. And we can use the calipers or some image processing software such as JImage to measure each whale's parameters, such as outer diameter and the area of the structure. And we think that why we're just using computer to do the job. So we programmed image processing software by using MATLAB because it comes with very good image processing toolboxes. And this is what result we got by showing the cell structure on a binary picture, where the white pixel shows the true information about the cells and the black are just the background. And we can also let the computer count each whale's the pixel number of each whale, and then derive that to the cell size or any other information that we really want. And we have been proved that by using the image processing software, we get the same result by measuring the cell structure on hand or using the other JImage software. So until then, we have all the building blocks to really accelerate the process of 3D cell levitation system and cell culture and drug screening system. We have the 3D cell levitation that decreases the time for cell culture, and we have the image acquisition, the biostation, and we can take pictures in a fast speed. And also we have the image processing software that we can analyze a large volume of data at very short time distance. So, and we have decided to use those data to generate to do statistical analysis and get a result that can be presented to our potential customers or users. And the statistic approach that we have been used following, such as the linear fitting for the drug concentration reactor on the different cell type, and we can also plot out the change slope on the drug concentration basis. Here you can see that the trend past the 0 point of the slope chain. That is the point, as I mentioned before, is the balance point between drug toxicity and the cells migration effect. And another parameter that bio people always use to represent their result is the p-value. The p-value indicates the statistically significant difference between two samples. And the normally criteria people use, if the p-value is beneath 0.5, it shows that the two types of samples are showing significant difference, and you can separate them each other and it be trustworthy. So we did all the p-values for different concentration compared to the others, and people, it may be difficult to see that, but after very time distance, like 3 or 4 days, you can see the p-values goes down to, goes beneath the criteria that we use, the 0.5, which shows that our experiment can represent the drug sensitivity to a particular cells type.
Just for reference, I think it would be very, very useful, both in the report and really like define the p-value sort of mathematically and show
Okay.
How it's actually computed on the case.
And also we have used the half maximum effective concentration, which is also named the EC50s. The EC50 often refers to the concentration of a particular drug or antibody that responds halfway between the baseline and the maximum. It is a measurement of the drug potency and the efficiency. So, and we use the two approaches and mechanism to calculate the EC50. One is the viability. We just need to measure the cell structure at a particular date that been long after the start of the experiment. And also we can use the change slope that we get from the slope fitting of the data showing the structure change. And on either way, these two approach gives us almost the same EC50 relationship between different cells that react to the same drug. And the advantage of using slope is that you don't need to care about whether the pattern, the cell structure start from the same size at the very beginning, because you are measuring the difference between the first date and the last date, and that is the advantage of using that. And we have also compared our 3D cell type levitation technology with the other companies who use, for example, in this one, the other company used a hanging job plate to do 3D cell culture. What they do, to simply explain, is that they form a drop of media and induce the cells into that drop. So the cells would be forced to form a 3D structure due to the surface tension force. And they got the EC50 for the 3T3 cells by using retinoic acid drug, and this is published on one of their publications, articles. And by using our technology, we can get the exactly same EC50s. But a good thing to notice that they get this EC50 after 1 or 2 weeks time less than a month. But for our approach, we can get the same EC50 at only about 10 hours or even shorter time distance overnight or something. So there are future plans for the project. First, we can keep on testing the 96 square plate for different cell and drug combination. And also we can optimizing the image processing software to let it do a better job. Right now we have the very early version of the software that published on App Store of Apple. But it only has the function of taking pictures and movies and document them in the mobile devices. In the future, we can integrate all the statistical analyze function to that software and sell it to the customers. And for far future, we can also develop in higher throughput wound healing assays such as 340 or 900 wells. So to summarize, in this project, I have studied magnetic nanoparticles for 3D cell culture process, and I've also developed 96 square wound healing assays for the cell culture and drug screening purpose. And I've also developed image acquisition and analysis system and program the software for the image processing and do a lot of the statistical analysis. So that would be all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Can I ask you a little bit about the polystyrene and everything that you use? And originally I thought you just had nanoparticles, but now that sort of forms a conglomeration of gold particles and iron oxide or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they're sort of somehow bound together and then they stick to the cells. So this stuff does not go into the cells, it sort of sticks, agglomerates around the cell. And then so now, I mean, how do you know the growth you're seeing is the cell growing, not these things sort of doing a better job of agglomerating among themselves? I didn't quite understand the growth process. I thought originally I did, and then when you put this up, I went where the polystyrene strands were sort of gluing together, and that was kind of more what you were seeing.
Polylysine only have limited numbers in that, and I've shown the SEM picture and the TM picture that the most of the nanoshuttle will be left behind when the cells grows. So that nanoshuttle is only gives us a promotion for the 3D structure to form. And after the cells have been levitated, this 3D structure just grow without the effect of the nanoshuttle.
So the growth is really new cells growing neighboring cells.
Yeah, that's true. And we can also count the cell numbers to prove that. Yes, please.
Can you use those cells for any downstream processes like DNA extraction or RNA extraction, knowing that you have some nanoparticles involved in there?
Yeah, it can be used for that for those applications. Definitely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.